Welcome back into the Sky Pod for episode 4. Huge shout out to all my friends, family, and supporters, veterans and current service members. I appreciate you guys for supporting me and my podcast. All the love is love. Big shout out to all those mothers out there for Mother's Day this past weekend. Happy belated Mother's Day. Shout your mothers. If you know, you know. The NBA draft lottery is now complete, and the Dallas Mavericks, with a 1.8% chance of obtaining the number 1 overall pick, claimed the number 1 pick in the draft. Cooper Flagg, Duke sensation, generational talent, freshman of the year, player of the year, brought Duke to the national championship as a freshman, came up short, was in the Olympics, training with the big boys, competed at a high level against those guys as a 17-year-old kid. The dude is special. But before we get into the implications of the pick, the player, let's talk about the NBA being rigged. Now, I understand the draft lottery, more specifically, being rigged. The big rumor now and the big conspiracy now is that Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers. Adam Silver orchestrated this trade to ensure the ratings would go up. The Lakers become a big name because they're a big brand once again. And the Mavericks' compensation was they got the number 1 overall pick. And then the trend to support this conspiracy is that, well, when Anthony Davis got traded from the Pelicans got the number 1 overall pick. When LeBron left Cleveland in free agency, the Cavaliers got the number 1 overall pick. And then now Luka gets traded to the Lakers, and the team that traded him, the Mavericks, get the number 1 overall pick. So let's just nip this in the butt while we can. Why don't we? It's entertainment. Are you not entertained? If it was rigged, so what? You're gonna turn on the television. You're gonna watch it, kid. So let's shut the F up about it being rigged and just enjoy it. Back to the Mavericks. Number 1 overall pick, Cooper Flagg. Here are my concerns. Does Cooper Flagg fit into the current roster in Dallas as it currently stands? Kyrie Irving, 33 years old, coming off a torn ACL. A lot of questions are going to come into play here about Kyrie Irving. One of the best handles ever to play the game of basketball. Quick, mastered the angles, can get up any shot at any place. Coming back from a torn ACL, that's a real question. Is he going to be the same player as he's getting older? He's 34 next March. That is a serious thing you have to look at. Anthony Davis, he's missed 96 games in the past 2 seasons. 96. He's had injuries throughout his entire career. Great player. Defensive specialist, one of the best shot blockers and interior presence the game has ever seen. But those guys are aging. They're aging, and they're superstars. And they need a player that can impact winning immediately. Cooper's going to take a couple years, 2 to 3 years. And what I think is if Dallas stays true to why they traded Luka was they wanted to get to the finals, but not only get there, but win, they're going to have to trade the pick if they decide to trade it. Well, Giannis Antetokounmpo is open to being traded if the situation is correct. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think if Dallas wants to get an ROI that's expedited, if they want a return on investment that is instant gratification, they will trade the number 1 overall pick to the Milwaukee Bucks. But here's the kicker. Mavericks will not acquire Giannis. The Suns will acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee, teaming him with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. The Mavericks, I think they're going to acquire Kevin Durant from the Suns, teaming him with Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. And here's why. Nico Harrison's explanation was that Luka Doncic wasn't in championship shape and he wasn't going to be able to get to the finals and be the reason they win. That was a major concern on top of the nutrition, on top of his inability to conform to what the coaching staff wanted, his arguing with the refs. It's a big thing. They did not want to continue to empower Luka, especially if they're going to have to give him a supermax. So they got rid of him because they wanted to give a team that was going to be equipped better to win a championship. Adding Kevin Durant will make that team complete. PJ Washington, Lively, they have a lot of pieces there already in place. If Kyrie comes back healthy with Anthony Davis, both of those guys have won championships. Kevin Durant has won a championship. I think with those three teaming up, you are immediately a championship contender straight out the gate. The Bucks will draft Cooper Flagg. That's the compensation. If they're getting rid of Giannis, they'll get Cooper Flagg, and that will be his team. And I think Giannis to the Suns makes a lot of sense. I don't think Giannis going to the Spurs really makes any sense at all. Wemby's a 5. He's a generational talent in his own right. Adding Giannis to the Spurs, it might shut down the interior on the defensive side, but it will regress Wemby in the interior on the offensive side. And I don't think you're going to ask somebody with that type of ceiling to take a backseat to Giannis. And on top of that, Giannis didn't gel well with Damian Lillard, who is one of the best point guards the game's ever seen. And I don't think him going to play with De'Aaron Fox is going to help him either, especially when both are very ball dominant. Giannis capitalizes off of turnovers in transition, off of defense. You go to the Suns, he can create the defensive culture while having one of the best shooting guards in the game in Devin Booker, and complementing him will be Bradley Beal. If you lose Kevin Durant, now Bradley Beal will be able to take more shots, and you might see the version that he was with the Wizards without Kevin Durant, adding a Giannis. And that's what I think will make most sense with the number 1 overall pick. Dallas could keep Cooper Flagg, and it could make sense, but they're not going to compete for a championship off the rip. Not with the Thunder ascending. They've shut me up. The Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards is destroying the league with really not a true number 2. So if you're the Mavericks, you got to make a move, and you got to make a move quick. And I think that's the trade that will most likely get done, if that's what the Mavericks decide to do. Knicks Celtics are 3-2 now. The Celtics won their first game without Jason Tatum, who, by the way, was having a legacy game in Madison Square Garden until he tore his Achilles. That is a terrible injury for the kid, man. One of the best players in the NBA. Doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's humble, doesn't have that big personality that, Anthony Edwards has or Kobe had. He's not very flamboyant. He doesn't really have an obnoxious side to him or quote unquote that killer instinct. But the critics just need to stop, man. The analytics, everything he's done with the Celtics. Let's put things in perspective here. Tatum has 2 50-point games in his career in the playoffs, including the highest scoring Game 7 in playoff history at the time, which was 51 points in a single game in a semifinal against a James Harden, Joel Embiid Sixers team at home. 51 points. The guy has 2 50-point games in the playoffs, and he has 3 40-point games and is a consistent 27 points a game in the playoffs since he entered the league. As a rookie, he averaged 25 points in the playoffs. The guy's a bucket. But here's my thing. The Celtics now still have Jaylen Brown, finals MVP, even though the guy didn't come near what Tatum had in the finals last year. But we push Jalen's the alpha. Brown's the alpha. Brown's the main character on that team. He's the reason they win. Okay, dog, prove it. A $300 million contract, the first of its kind in NBA history. You're down 3-2. You're going to the Garden, Madison Square Garden. Rush Hour 2, baby. If you know, you know. You go in the Madison Square Garden. Down 3-2. If you're the alpha, if you're the dog, prove it. But I'll tell you this. The narrative that he's more important than the team in Brown, I hope he proves me wrong. Shut me up. Shut me up. But also, if we're comparing the two, Tatum averages more points than Jaylen Brown, more rebounds than Jaylen Brown, more assists than Jaylen Brown. He has a higher plus minus for all you analytic nerds. And ultimately is the best player on the Celtics. The analytics show that, and the history shows that. But no, we want to have out of the grapevine that Brown's more important. Brown's better. All right, then prove it, dog. You're worth $300 million. Prove it. But the Knicks, it looks like it's their time. And I love that for Knicks, the team, the organization. I don't like it for their fans. Their fans make me sick, dog. Go New York, go New York, go. I can't stand it. But honestly, I want to see it. I want to see Brown show up because they're paying you to do it. And here's your time. You're going to get more shot opportunities. The ball's going to be in your hands. And I want all these people to stand on business if he loses. Stand on it. Because if he's the guy, this is his moment. And that's what I believe. I want to jump into my Army topic, more specifically the military recruitment problem. The military throughout the years, in years history, in years past, have had a hard time meeting their quota. They're always averaging around 15 to 25% under the required quota that the big Army wants them to meet. Well, as of recently, they are in a huge hole. They are having a hard time recruiting people into the Army. And after further research and deep diving into what really is going on, this is what my findings are. There is a declining eligibility process in terms of young adults who are ineligible for service due to physical health issues, mental health issues, drug use, criminal records, and other disqualifications. Another thing I found was that politics, more specifically wokeness, has impacted recruits and have made them more reluctant to enlist. Obviously, there's the fear of death and the high stress and what comes with after being a veteran. That's also a huge deterrent of why people don't enlist. But the Army's trying its best. It's lowered its fitness standards to meet recruitment goals. That is outrageous. You have to lower your fitness standards to meet recruitment goals. The Army is already experiencing a high attrition rate. What does that mean? There's a significant portion of soldiers leaving within the first 2 years of service. General discharges. They don't want to fulfill their first obligation. Here's what I'll say about the military with the recruitment and what's going on in modern day. In my opinion, from my service and what I learned, the purpose of the military was never to fit any political narrative or drive agendas that make other people, specifically soldiers, feel comfortable. Period. There is nothing comfortable about war. There's nothing comfortable about taking life. There's nothing comfortable for sacrificing your own freedoms when you sign on the dotted line to ensure the safety of others' freedoms in America. There's nothing comfortable with that. So get rid of this. We have to make them feel comfortable. That is outrageous. Any country that wants to be a world power understands for that to happen, America as we know it has to cease to exist. Ask yourself this. What kind of man is able to withstand that type of environment? Or woman is able to withstand that type of environment and do what has to be done, regardless of how it looks like on the outside world, by being in their comfort zone. There is nothing comfortable about being in the military. You have to, and even outside of the military, if you want growth, if you want evolution, if you want change, you have to chase uncomfortability. Become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Soldiers do not need to be coddled, and they don't need to feel okay. They need to be held accountable. And accountability is uncomfortable to a lot of people. I'm going to tell you this. If a world war were to happen or something were to happen in history shows that it will come. Call that extreme, call that whatever. Russia and China and whoever are non-allies are not going to prioritize making people feel comfortable when they attempt to take your freedoms in your life. Period. And you could say what you want about the Army. The Army now is associated with toxic masculinity, and guys are coming out and they just are unable to adapt. You might think guys in the military are overly confident, aggressive, outspoken, borderline arrogant, and you might not like those guys. They might make you feel uncomfortable, which is valid, but those guys win wars. Those guys keep you safe, period. And so say what you want about all that stuff. My Georgia accent's coming out there. Say what you want, but you need guys out there that fit that build. And the Army needs to start marketing what really the experience is, and it doesn't need to succumb to what society wants it to be. When you join the military, you are signing the dotted line and you raise your right hand and you are protecting our borders. You are protecting the Constitution of the United States, and you are sacrificing your freedoms for the protection of others. And that's just the way I feel about it. Hard times create hard people. Soft times create weak people. And that's the world we live in now today. I want to give another huge notice, a reminder actually. June 21st, we're still having the big veteran get-together at the Broken Bridges at South Carolina. I encourage everybody who I served with, vets alike, anyone who just wants to come out, make memories, have a good time, talk about your experiences. Shoot me a text if you have my number, or follow me or message me. And we're coordinating right now, and we're trying to get all the logistics put together and all the details. So just let me know. And we look forward to that event. It's going to be a classic. I'm going to leave the podcast off with something that's kind of near and dear to me. And just guys that are struggling with that life outside the Army and struggling with that inner voice, and maybe struggling through hard times, whether that be financially, romantically, or whatever it is. This is something that might change your perspective on things. I believed you. I believed I was hopelessly screwed up. And I could have lived my entire life not realizing that everything you despised me for, everything you hated about me, somebody else would love me for the exact same thing. They accept me for exactly who I am. Thank you for watching the SkyPod episode 4. I appreciate all the love and support that everyone's given me throughout the way. Once again, huge shout out to my friends, family, veterans, service members who are still serving. I salute y'all. I love y'all. Chance, Crashy, Papa love you. There goes S.